Hi, how y'all doing today? So I am on house sit number 13 here in southwest uh, southwest of Melbourne, Australia. Okay, this house sit was very emotionally invested. I put it like that. Okay, I'm going to show you the pets while they're eating, and we'll try to have separate spots. Okay, that's one. You can barely see her. She's okay. That's Miss Winnie. She has been the boss. 18, almost 19 months old now. This is, I call her Pippa. Pippi. Pippa. That's Pippa. Okay. And I've had to quarantine this little guy here that goes by the name of Good. All right. That one goes by the name Jimmy. Okay, and I'll probably blur out their names. Okay, so, and there's one more that is, for now, staying under the house. And she is the original pet out of these four. She's the one that's been with the owners the longest. Okay, so I will tell you what my encounter has been with these pets. But first, let's talk about what the owner originally said about the pets in their description. And I'm not going to read the description word for word. But what I will say is this: the pets, the dog and the last one that I showed are, they both came in around the same time. They're both brought into the family around the same time. So they have gotten to be buddies, or as what I found out, partners in crime. Um, the the middle cat and the one that's staying underneath the house were both indoor cats, supposedly indoor cats. The dynamics of the pets has been basically trial and error for me. I had to, the first 3 days, there were a lot of fights between the pets. I was breaking up fights. They weren't all, okay, let me backtrack. Okay, the Jimmy, the one cat that you saw, that was the last cat that you saw, and the dog. Okay, let's go. Jimmy was bullying the one cat that is now under the house, living underneath the house. She's self-exiled. Um, this one here, the middle cat, and I'm not going to show him anymore on camera. The middle cat went, the one on, okay, let me backtrack. Okay, let's get back to what the owner initially said. And I guess I will read it because you need to know how. Oh, let's see. Cats. Jimmy, blah blah blah, is young. Always hungry, looks for food, will eat. Guilty of getting up a bitch. Don't leave anything out open or may disappear. Use the pantry. Close the door. Okay, he doesn't go into the pantry. Was allowed outside, but not anymore. Was hurt, so need to watch your feet as you go in and out. He's an escape artist. If he does go out, we'll come back soon. Okay. Whatever he had that was causing him to not go outside at the time, whatever hurt it was, he's over that. He's been begging and he's allowed this cat begging to get out since I've been here from day one. Actually, he was doing that when the owners were here. The other two, Pippin, keep to themselves. Neither go outside. Okay. Night they curl up in the living area. Keep your room door closed at night unless you want one of them sleeping on your bed. When I show you Jimmy and one under the porch can argue a little, nothing nasty. Just the one here getting in the other one's face. She doesn't like it. The one that's now on the porch is a loner and very attached. So may hide while I'm not here. Okay. Jimmy and Charlie can argue a little, nothing nasty. Okay. So, here's the issue that the politics involved and it's not addressed. The first 2 or 3 days I was like I said, I was breaking up fights between the animals just constantly. Go from one to the other. The dog, and there's quite a longer explanation to that. They're supposed to be using timeout. Here's the issue. The timeout didn't say how long the dog was supposed to be in timeout. I didn't know if it was a minute, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. I didn't know what it was. Didn't think to ask. But I sent a dog a timeout, and the dog would his own timeout, 2 or 3 minutes. The first couple of days, she kept jumping down. I did originally put her in a cage for, I think, maybe 2 10-minute sessions. I want to say she bolted right out doing the same thing. I'm not keen to hitting other people's dog. I did pop her a couple of times, but I'm not into that popping other people's dog. She is motivated by treats, but it's not always. Sometimes she'll grab the treat. She, in her excitement, a couple of times she has bitten. That's when she got popped. When she bit me a couple of times, mainly playing, but it was playing after I said to stop. So she did get popped a couple of times for that. But while I'm chasing after her, Jimmy is apparently terrorizing the other cat, which I didn't realize he was terrorizing the cat. It says she gets in the face and he doesn't like it, but he was actually intimidating and swiping at the other cat that I didn't realize. Because the other cat has very long fur. Hold on a minute. All right, so you might hear some muffled barks in the background, but I closed the screen door. Okay, where was I? The politics and the jockeying for position of the animals. There's 3 cats here and 1 puppy, 1 dog. The dog basically took over from day one. Pretty much very active dog, which I knew the dog was active, but I didn't really understand the relationship. Not really responding well to commands. Like I said, I'm not into beating other people's pets. But and maybe they knew that. Maybe that's why I lost control. Like I said, the first 2 or 3 days, breaking up fights, intervening, sending animals back and forth. At that time, the owner's bedroom was closed off, and I'm not into going into other people's rooms if they close it off. I don't generally go in there. However, I had to make an exception this time. But I went to the shy cat, the one that's underneath the porch, wouldn't let me pet her, wouldn't let me touch her. Very, kind of back off, and I'm not, I don't corner no animals. So when she was backing off, I would just let her. Occasionally, I would touch her when I went to feed her, and she would kind of, you know, scoot away from me. So I didn't. I would, talk to her or stuff like that. So, but she would look at me from a distance. But, but yeah. So I would kind of leave her alone. But by the third day, all of them were outside. I mean, because I was trying to get the dog out at the time. The second cat ran out while I'm trying to get the dog, as I later found out, was basically would start barking to come in like she's doing now. And then when I go to open the door, she would back out. So I'm trying to get her to come in like, what do you want? And she wouldn't. And basically, within 3 days, all of the cats were out. I put it like that. So about the cat that's under the porch now, she would go out for a short period of time, but she didn't really care for it. So she would come back in. Most of the time, she would come back in within 10, 15 minutes. She was back in like, y'all can have that. But I met on the walk one day. I met somebody at the park, and we got to talk. And she was from the U.S. and we got to talk. And at the dog park, the dogs were, playing with each other, and me and her just kind of hit it off and started talking, initially about the dogs, and then it progressed into something else, and we started talking more. She was into art therapy, and I'm into art therapy too. So that was a nice conversation that we had. And she invited me over for a therapy session that she wanted to try. So she had a lot of stuff. But the day that it became for me to go over there, the shy cat went out and stayed out. 2 hours later, while I'm trying to get the cat to come in, she's shimmying away from me, getting away from me. And I'm like, okay, she had not, at that point, she had not been out for no more than, I would say, maybe 10, 15 minutes at most. 2 hours, she was still out enjoying, enjoying the sun, going from sun to shade. Would not come in. I came back in the house, and I'm like, okay, in a minute, and I'm pestering her, she's going to come to the door to come in. She did not. So it was one cat that was out that I could pick up and get in. The other young cat, the one that you saw, and the dog, they wanted to stay out. So, the dog kind of follows behind me. But having a dog in with the middle cat was not a good idea, because I saw the dog had been attacking the cats sometimes. So I was like, well, I'll be back in a short time. I think I might have been gone for a little bit over an hour. And my theory was, okay, if I leave all of them out, they all kind of check each other. The cats can, if the dog gets real bad, they can climb up in the tree to get away from the dog or whatever, because there's several trees around, short shrub-like trees. And so I left. And when I got back, it was about probably close to 2 hours. So, an hour and a half to 2 hours that, it's like, when we presented, the information that she had, and I came back. No sign of the shy cat. And that is probably one of the scariest things that you will encounter. I didn't have any, I figured she would be back for dinner. It's like, wherever she's at, she'll be back for dinner. She did not come back for dinner. She did not come back for supper. All night, she didn't come back the next day for breakfast. She was not here. Very worried. I started the evening before. I walked around the block looking for her, looking for signs of her. And when she didn't come back for breakfast the next day, I started looking in the yard for possible feathers, hair, anything, because the birds here are very large. The birds here are almost the size of a medium-sized dog. This particular dog look like she probably weighs about 10 to 12. I would say 10 to 12, or maybe a little bit more. About 15 pounds. I would say 12 to 15 U.S. pounds. And she's considered a small dog, not a tiny dog, but a small dog. There are birds here that are bigger than her. They're taller. They probably don't eat meat, not the ones that I've seen. But when she didn't come back the next morning, I really got worried. And I started walking again. I walked the dog that particular. I was really hadn't slept much the night before. I took the dog out for a walk kind of early that morning just to kind of get out and clear my head. And on the way when I got to the park and got out the park, I heard owls. Then I really got stressed out. Over the next couple of days, I was still a combination of looking. Now, the next day when she didn't come back for breakfast, I did contact the emergency contact for this particular sit. It was a lady's sister, and she said she would come by, and she did. She came by. She explained to me that with the dog, she because I thought it was like abnormal. She was like, no, that's the way the dog is. The dog is very spoiled. She actually told me to hit the dog. I just, ooh, I don't care for that. But in retrospect, I probably the first 2 or 3 days, I probably should have hit her a few times when she wasn't minding. I probably would have had better control. I wouldn't have had to keep hitting her. So she encouraged me to keep looking. Now she went out around the house and got down on the ground, which I had kind of walking around. I didn't know what had happened to the cat, and she saw hair, the cat's hair, where she's going in and out from the porch that was on the crack underneath the right above the foundation, the gap between the house. And so it was like by then the cat had been gone for coming in on 2 nights. So I felt a little bit better. Basically her thing was, don't worry about it. The cat's gone. Hey, gone. Don't worry about it. And so that helped me ease my mind a little bit. And then over the course of the next 2 days during the feeding process, and after breakfast, I let the other cat out. The cat's out again. And this particular time, the second cat disappeared. Okay, so I got 4 pets, and it might have been, I have to look at it might have been 2 weeks in by then. No. Let me see. This is 3 weeks. A week and a half. Within 2 weeks, 2 cats missing. 2 cats not coming back. And initially, one of them said to put food out for the pets at the thing, and they told me to have it. This particular pet, she drinks mainly the juices. So I did that, and I checked on the second day, and I saw the juice was gone, and I was happy about that. And then when the second cat disappeared, I put out more food, and there was more of it eaten. But then one day I put out some dry food, and nothing got gone. They didn't eat it. And I was like, and I'm not sure if that's what's going on. And so then I believe it was one of the neighbors, somebody, I don't know who it was, but the sister basically said somebody said basically to lock up. It had to be a neighbor. Lock up the cat that was mean, that I didn't know was that mean. Lock up the cat that was mean, and take the dog out for a long walk, leave the door open so the other cats would come back and they wouldn't be intimidated. And so I did that. Actually took the dog out. We went to the beach and went around. I was probably gone for 3 hours. The other cat was lying out. And that was when I used the owner's bedroom, what I call the owner's bedroom jail, is what I was calling it. Put her in there, put him in there, the cat in there, walked the dog. When I got back, still no sign of, that was that the first night that the other cat disappeared? I'll look and see the dates. I think that was when the second cat had disappeared. And so, that because the cat came back and she was like, "What's going on with you?" But anyway, that was after the second. The second one disappeared after the other one had been out for 2 days. I want to say 2 days. Yeah. And so that was frantic. It was like, okay, I done lost 2 cats here. Again, not realizing the politics going on. And so now I'm sitting at the table, and the other cat that I had locked in the room, they need to go out. He needs to go out, once a day or whatever. It's like, okay. So he's been locked up for a while. Let me let him out. And I'm sitting at the table, and I let him out, and I heard all this, all the screaming cat sounds. And I was like, okay. And it was right underneath me, like right underneath the kitchen where I'm sitting. And I was like, okay. And I got up and went outside, and I called off the cats' names who were missing. But the only cat that came running to me was Jimmy. So I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And it dawned on me, okay, so and I'm looking back and seeing the relationship of what they were doing. He's threatening, the young cat is threatening the oldest cat. And probably when I was gone, they probably started fighting. I'm sure they started fighting out in the yard. And by me not being here to break them up, he probably pounced on her and beat her up pretty bad. And then when she went to defend herself, the dog will snap after the cat if they try to retaliate against Jimmy bullying them. So it was like, okay, so I'm thinking the dog is just a random snapping after the cats. And when I really thought about it, it's like when Jimmy has an encounter with these cats, the dog jumps in to defend Jimmy. So it was like, oh my gosh, I had not recognized that. So from that point on, it became, okay, y'all are going to be separate. So that's when the cat has a collar, not a collar, a harness that I started using on him. And he started taking him out twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. If he wants to go out. If you don't want to go out, that's fine. But you're going to be on this harness. The first day he got out, we went out with the harness. He basically almost rolled over and played dead. Like, I was like, getting patience with him. Come on now, this is the new deal. Because if I let him off, he's going to get up underneath the house and he's going to be fighting the other cat that had been, by this point, she had probably been gone for 3 or 4 days. So walked him on a leash. Now he's gotten used to it. It's probably day 4 or 5. He's kind of gotten used to the leash. But like I said, the first day was tough. The first thing in the morning, the evening, naturally he's trying to jump the wall. No, I know what happened. The first day I got here and after they left, and because the guy said, well, if they don't get on the leash, he can't go outside. Well, he's the loudest cat. I mean, he's making noise and whining and scratching and carrying on. So I was like, okay. So I put the leash on him. While I'm putting the leash on the dog, within 30 seconds, he was out of that leash. So I was like, oh, okay. Or the harness, he was out of it. And I realized what he did is he basically wrapped himself around the leash, around and around and around. And then once he got that pull on it, he pulled himself got that leverage on it to pull himself out of the harness. And so then I knew, okay, so he's not gonna be able to, I can't let him get to a point where he has enough tension on the other side that that he could slide out of the harness. So that's what I did. I walked him around a couple of times. He went underneath some furniture. Initially I was holding it, kind of pulling him back out. A couple of times he hopped in a tree. He hopped on the top of the fence. I let him, the first time I kind of pulled on him before he hit the top, and I was like, no, that's kind of dangerous to knock him off balance like that. Because when he came in, he was a little nervous with the harness on him, and he went to jump on something he normally hits. He lands, and he kind of wobbled and fell off of his eye. Okay, so I don't want to disorientate the cat like that. Not me. Maybe the owners, and maybe he'll get it like on his own or whatever at some point or whatever, running from something and do that, but not with me. So I took the harness off, but I'm mindful. Okay. When he hits something and I'll wait till he lands, and then I'll start pulling the harness. Okay, you got there, you landed. Okay, good for you. Now let's get down. Let's come up, stay on this side of the fence. And so we did that with him. And so now he doesn't jump up there on his own. He would. He's definitely got the strength to do that. But the main thing is each time he went out, he kept trying to get underneath the house. And it was like, no, no, no. So by the end of the second day, I went to put the harness on. By then they'd gotten used to it. I went to put the harness on, and I happened to look at it, and one of the clips was actually cracked. He had cracked, that's how much pulled he was like. He was actually pulled and cracked the harness. And so, it's called a breakaway harness just because of cats have it, so that if they get stuck in a tree or limb or something like that, it won't strangle them. It'll actually, the weight of the cat will, the thing will come off. But this was the clip itself was cracked. So I had to go out and buy another harness for him, which I didn't mind, because I'm not going to lose a third cat. When I say lose, I mean coming in the house or something like that, or him getting underneath the house and beating up on the other cat. So that has worked out. I did find an emergency contact, which is actually very rare. I've had several. This is house set number 13 while I'm in Australia. It's probably been 26 now. Emergency, I have never had an emergency, and I don't call them often. Let me think. I had one when I first got here. I think the second or third sit, I contacted the emergency contact because that cat was very sick. I was a little scared. He was sick when I got here, or she was sick when I got here. I'm trying to think. The only one that showed up, one of the other sits was told that the owner's relative would come by and see the dog on a regular basis. I was there for a month. The person came by one time. But usually the emergency contact doesn't show up. Now I did have one before. The cat got out, had ants behind it, and the cat was very averse to ants, and just bolted out the door. I left the door initially because I thought it would smell of the bug spray. But then the second time it happened, and I'm like, what happened? Because the cat had been out before, after that, and the cat would come back in. And I was like, okay, what happened that the cat disappeared this time and did not come back? And once I checked the spot, it was loaded with ants. And I guess he was getting out, trying to get the ants off of him, but she didn't. He or she, I don't know. People here are into these pronouns with these animals, whatever. But anyway, the cat didn't come back. And the emergency contact, and I made the mistake of contacting the owner, and I realized the lesson that I've learned is don't do that. Don't do that. I don't care what happens to the animal. Contact somebody local, somebody who they say to contact, to the vet or whatever. Don't contact the owner at all, because basically it ruined their vacation. It ruined her vacation. I I had another cat that I was administering medicine to that she kept contacting me. And so I told her the issue with the medicine with the cat, and apparently that ruined her vacation because then she needed to contact her relatives to come by so if they could get the cat this medicine, which I wasn't. The cat did the same thing what they never did with me. But again, it ruined their vacation. So one thing I've learned is tell the owner everything is okay. Use the contacts that they, or the vet or whoever, or if something happens, I won't be telling the owners anymore about any of their animals outside of they're fine, they're great. And I will wait till they get back to talk about any escapades, any injuries or anything like that with the animal. Contact local, do as much as I can on a local basis, so that I don't end up basically ruining it, because there's nothing they can do really at a distance, especially once they give you the information, the vet's name or whoever has emergency contact information. So there's nothing that you can do. So I have to get over that anxiety and just let it be what I do my best, and I let it be what it be. And I'm human. I might make mistakes. Hopefully they're not. So far they haven't been detrimental to the pets. And I hope to continue that. But that's one lesson that I've learned, is to don't contact the owner. Using the guidelines of what the owners have, make the assumption so far that I've seen is the owners will not value, what's the word? They won't tell you everything. They won't divulge everything about the pet, because I think the issue with these particular cats was a situation that they didn't want to divulge, that this particular cat is bullied to the other. If I would have known that, I would have did a separation before. I would have overrode the issue with the closed room and used that as a quarantine space. When the come to think of it, the day that the cat disappeared, the day before, she had been in the room that I was in, which I don't mind them being in there during the daytime, but at night I like to sleep by myself because they move around. They can be noisy, moving around on the bed. I might be moving around on the bed, moving, kicking, whatever. So the day before she got on my bed, she was on my bed early, which was okay for me. She was sitting in the middle of the bed. And when I went to get in the bed, she moved to the foot of the bed. And I went to pet her before her. She backed up and moved her. And I was like, okay, so I don't know if she's going to get angry in the course of the night and try to scratch me. So the next day I left her. I closed my door. I wouldn't let her in the room at all. So it's like, I'm not going to, I don't want to keep pushing that. And the day after, that was when she went outside and stayed outside for 2 hours. Hold on a minute. Let me let this dog in and see if he's quiet. Hold on. Okay. So, I guess this is sort of like a part 2. Okay, so I'm drinking it's good soda. Lemonade with a little bit of spiked by the suggestion of the owner's sister, because she saw how stressed out was. But actually, in all honesty, I had tears when the first cat didn't come back. I was beside myself as to knowing I didn't know what happened. It's like I left and came back and the cat's gone. So again, I didn't realize the relationship of how the younger cat was bullying, how they were ganging. The dog and the young cat were ganging up on the other 2 cats. But yeah, I was beside myself. I was very stressed out. But getting back to lessons learned, the relationship with the pets. First of all, every pet that I've had does something that the owner said that they're not going to do. So I guess in this particular case, not really realizing the relationship with the animals and not realizing that the two newer pets are like I said, partners in crime, because they're wreaking havoc, especially the dog. Um, he was kind of standoffish to the oldest cat, but again, the the younger cat would intimidate the oldest cat. I say old as far as ownership. The oldest cat, and then when she would retaliate to defend herself, then the dog would jump on her. So, I mean, I was chasing, and the cat was just going from one to the other, just one to the other. Um, but this, after the suggestion in this particular case, removing one of the pets, in this case the dog, from the mix, locking up the other ones as suggested, leaving the door open, and then the second choice came from somebody else. So they said, just stop, because I was taking food out and feeding the cats on it until one day, two things happened. One thing, I put out a dry pet food, and it hardly got gone. And then later on in the day, I saw a bunch of big birds out in the yard, and these birds here are huge, and they do eat the food, the pet's food. It's like, most places some birds will eat the pet's food if you leave it out, or some wild animal will eat it. When I saw them eating the pet's food, the cat's food, I got a little bit, because at this point, this was before the cats got in there fighting. I didn't know necessarily. I thought it was the cats. But then when I saw the birds, it was like, oh man, what if the cats underneath there dead or something? But I didn't smell death. So, or not there. Might only be one cat underneath there. It's not both cats under there. But yeah. So, but the thing with her sister came by and she saw evidence of the cat. She did. I did say that. So the suggestion of somebody else was to stop feeding them. They were like, don't, if they're comfortable where they're at and you're taking food to them, they're not going to come out. And so I've stopped feeding them twice a day. Now I feed them, I take food out there every other day. I did have, I was taking food out there on a regular basis, and I noticed ants that were in the food. I was going out there twice a day, and I noticed ants around there, so I was like, okay. So I started backing off, and I dropped it down to once a day. And then yesterday, it's been 2 days since I put any food out. It was a 2-day gap when I put food out, and the other cat basically came in the next day like, I'm hungry. And sis over here, she want to stay underneath there. I can't do that no more. I'm hungry. So she came back, and she's comfortable being in the house. I feel I'm okay with her. I was so happy to see her. Oh my gosh, that was such a relief. But she came back. She did beg to go out quite a bit that first day, because she got used to having that breeze on her back, and she loved it. So I did. She was in her usual spot, in the little. They have like a covered porch, so she likes that. Still in the chair over there. But she comes back for meal times. But I notice she does not eat nowhere near the amount of food that she was eating before. So she has, gotten back to her barely eating, but she does come and I pet her, so she'll keep coming. She did, cats love that. So, but yeah, she allows me to pet her. She was one that allowed me to pick her up and pet her fairly early. Not overly needy, no lap time, just, pet me where I'm at. Jimmy, finally, from a combination of putting a collar on him, he feels that petting, so he likes to be pet now. Again, not overly concerned about it. The dog is incessant about petting. Just if she ain't sleeping, she wants to be pet. So, so we do that, and then, like you said, the other cat, I guess she figured, at this point, I think it's a trust with me. Because the cats have come back. The dog has been at the basically doggy daycare for the last few days. Not there today because the lady has some appointments that she had to keep. But tomorrow will be the last day while I'm here that she'll be over there. And the cat basically came back. It's like, I can't do what she's doing no more. I don't mind. I mean, I let her out. Kind of initially, I was letting her out. Like, okay, go tell the other cat that the coast is clear. That things are different here now. Jimmy got this little thing on him. He can't run. He ain't been down here bothering us for the next few days because he got this. She got him hooked up on that thing, and he can't run like he want to run because she came in here. She came in investigating. I put that collar harness on Jimmy, and she looked at him like, "What is that?" Oh, she looked at it. She sniffed it and looking at him. And by then, he looking all cool like, just the new thing. Oh, and I went out there to walk him, and she followed behind him, looking like, what's going on here? And he all walking all proud, not being embarrassed, and like, oh, we do this all the time. Just kind of looked with what he had, and I think I would say this is his third, maybe his fourth day with the collar on him, and she just kind of looked. She followed behind him for a few minutes, and like, okay, I think he liked that thing. Okay, so she's not looking at him so surprised now, but I let her out so she could let him know, Jimmy ain't like that right now. He can't. But the other cat haven't came back, so I guess it's about me. She's like, nah, that lady don't know what she's doing. She ain't got control. I don't trust it. So, which, as far as I know, it's down there. Because I did put food out last night, and all the food got gone. So, I went out there this morning to check before the dog got out there, because the dog will try to bit. I don't think she can reach it, but I wanted to make sure, and all of it was gone. The tin can was full. I mean, it was a new can I put out there. The tin can was gone. The food in it was gone. It was licked. I saw new hair, her hair, because she has long hair. So I saw new poofs of hair. So I know she's under there. She's fine. There's a perpetual water outside, so she can come out and do that. I had sometimes during different nights, I would hear her and the other cat when they were out there together playing, bumping up against stuff, making noise. I knew that they were, it was them because it was close enough to my window. Sometimes they would be playing underneath it, so I hear them bumping underneath my bed, which is fine. Just sounds. And also seeing cat poop around. So I'll see cat poop in the yard and stuff like that. So I go out there to clean it up. All the poop, dogs poop, cat poop. Go ahead and clean it up while I'm out there. So, and it's and it's not even that. That's not even every day. That's only because this morning was quite a bit in the front yard. So, but the sun here is dry, so it dries it out fairly quickly. But yeah, that's one of the experiences of, whew, that's a chapter. This is a chapter in a book. Just the whole thing with the pet politics and stuff. Okay, so that's enough of the pets. The house is organized, it's well stocked. This particular sit, they have both. They both work. They're still working. I put it like that. Don't know if they're full time or part time. I think they're classified as full time. They both still work. They're constantly buying stuff. When I first got here, the owner told me, thin this stuff out. I mean, the freezer. They open the freezer, food falling out the freezer. I mean, just loaded with stuff in the freezer. They have a deep freezer, and they had the freezer attached to the refrigerator. Again, meats, starches, vegetables, ice cream, not as much ice cream. I have gone out and bought some stuff. Um, I've been out. I got eggs a few times. Um, haven't had to buy any meat, no bread. They have a lot, just half-eaten loaves of bread. Some twice. Um, they got rice, spaghetti, pasta, all kind of pasta, drinks, alcohol, non-alcohol, a lot of candy, a lot of chocolate. Just they have a lot of everything that I eat. So I haven't had to hardly buy any groceries since I've been here. This particular city's use of a car. So the only thing is the diesel. So tomorrow I actually do a couple of things. I'm going to go to, because the day after that I'll be gone in the area, and there's an exhibit of some ladies that I met. Matter of fact, one is coming up, as a sit coming up. Her in a group, she invited me to a spoken word event, and one of the ladies there stuff is on exhibit, so I want to go ahead and see it tomorrow, because when I leave the area, by the time I get back, the exhibit that she participated in will be gone. So I'm gonna go. It's about a little bit over an hour drive, which is okay. So I'm gonna go and see that tomorrow. And then I got invited to the lady that I had went to the art thing with. I got invited to dinner, and it'll be the Thanksgiving Eve. Yeah, it'll be Thanksgiving Eve 2023. Okay, and that's one thing that I found out about me. Okay, so I'm transitioning into the house to pet, and what I've learned about me. One of the consensuses is to have community before you go to an area. To get to know people and stuff before you. But in my particular case, and I'm sure this was a few, I was toxic. I was very toxic, and for me, I wanted to let go, to loosen that toxicity before I started interacting and being around other people. I've learned in my life, I'm a huge complainer, very negative, angry. Just a lot of it is my upbringing, but a lot of it is coming out of that victim mentality, letting some things go. And I don't want to elaborate on it, because I definitely think that the people that had it were at fault, but at the same time, they're no longer here. And so I'm in the process of controlling my thoughts, my narrative, my what the higher power says about me. I'm kind of plugging more into that. A combination of meditation, finding out who I am, my gifts and what I have, what I contribute, apart from what other people said about me that I really have been listening to and kept taking it in. And it's like, no, they really didn't know me to start with. I didn't know me, so how could they know me? Very angry over the years and stuff like that. And so I had to let go of that. And so in light of that, I would say for me, and probably for many people, if you're excessively angry or stuff like that, pets have been my foundation for a very long time, my emotional foundation for a very long time. When my human, the people who were responsible for me failed me. What I failed, that's a big word. They didn't fail me. Let's be specific. Emotionally, they failed me. I put it like that, because physically, we had everything that we needed. We had regular food. We were not homeless. They had businesses. They had, other things that a lot of people didn't have access to. We had any physical wants you could want, really, or have access to within reason. But we weren't necessarily needy for anything. So No, for me, in the situation that I was under, I've been wanting to run. Technically, I've been wanting to run away for a long time. As a teenager, matter of fact, I tried to run away until it got late one night and I didn't know where to go. So I ended up going back home. It was probably about 3 o'clock in the morning when I got back as a teenager. I might have been 14, 15 years old at the time, but to me, it was stuff going on in the house that that I wanted to get away from. And my cousin happened to be with me, and she kept saying, "Y'all going back home?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to go back home." And so I did, but having the wanting to leave and quote unquote run away, I've been wanting to do that for a very long time. Well, life happens, and the benefit of relationships and stuff like that, based on my home relationships, a lot of them were not good. um, I often say I got married, had my son, and got divorced. The best thing that ever happened to me in my life, bar none. My son saved my life, basically. I call him my son, S-U-N, because he was my anchor. But anyway, needless to say, pets have always been, we were growing up, we had pets, mainly dogs, a few cats here and there, but mainly dogs. But they were my emotional support. They loved me unconditionally. Um, and so I've had a close relationship with pets for a very long time. And having the opportunity to do house sits here in Australia, just kind of one after the other. And I think when I interview with people, I think they see my generosity and my love of animals, and they've given me a chance. And for me, that is my community. I've been here now for, let's see, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, 7 months between the house, the pets, and the house. I very little community. I had one. I did have one in September. For somebody that I met online. Okay, so I guess in that sense it is a sort of like community, because I contacted, but I didn't meet them until I got here. They say to know people ahead of time. I didn't want to know anybody ahead of time. I knew that I needed to get away from people. I needed to hear and process my own thoughts on some things. So I didn't have community when I got here. I consider myself relatively healthy. I do have a travel insurance in case any emergencies happen. I was here for 6 months, and I didn't want nobody. I didn't want anybody that I wasn't contacting to know me. I didn't even want the government to know that I was here. Although cell phones, computer chips, and everything you got, your passport and all stuff, they know we're here. They know I'm here. If they really look, I put it like that. But it's a lot of people traveling. They may not know, but the telephone company, they got your computer chip. They know where you're at. They're tracking you. So, but anyway, I did go ahead and register for the STEP program after I've been here for 6 months. And my community initially started off with the people that I was house sitting for, which up until now has been not non-black people. Most I put it like that, they classify themselves as white, which is okay. They've been nice, generous, at least initially. Now, when they get back, once they got what they need and they get back, there might be another story. I have had a couple of people that their responses just didn't make any sense, and I figured, okay, they just wanted a vacation, and when they got back, they figured they were I really didn't want this black person in my house to start with, but she was available, and I hired her, so, as long as the pet is happy, I can tolerate, we can, whatever. throw away stuff, clean stuff, whatever they're gonna do after having a black person in their house. So whatever. Um, but most of them have been nice, generous. Um, so, but for me, I've learned that I don't do that. I did not need to be in a community ahead of time. I had some financial resources. I have spent a little bit more than I thought I was going to spend. For me, the highest expense is or has been travel. A combination of, but it's still a lot less expensive than having to have my own accommodations, because accommodations here in Australia are relatively expensive. I put it to you like that. They're outside of my budget. They're not necessarily expensive, but they're outside of my budget for what I wanted to spend. And I would not have been able to do this, what I'm doing, without having consistent house sits. And now I'm fully booked until this is November. I've had once I had 5 days in between one set that I'd used in order to satisfy my visa requirement. I need to go out and come back in every 6 months. So I did satisfy the visa requirement. I left for Fiji for a few days, 3 or 4 days, I think it was, and came back in. And then I have another trip coming up. It's a turnaround trip. I would have loved to be there for a length of time, but I am on a sit in that time period, and I won't be able to leave the animal so more than 2 nights. So I'm going to be gone for a couple of days, but I'll be back the second night. So the cat is basically only have 1 night that I won't be there. So, and even at that, I have use of a car, so I'll be able to drive to the airport and come back and get back to the house. So I do have that coming up to satisfy my visa. But that's been the most expensive stuff, is travel, paying to travel. This is my, I have 2 more days here, basically a day and a half left here on this particular set. And I will be going to getting a flight going to Queensland and coming back in 3 weeks. Initially, I was a little concerned about the airfare because the airfare was like 300. I want to say about 300 American dollars. I want to say for a round trip ticket, which is not a lot, but I calculated in 3 weeks' time, that's less than $100 a week that I would be, where it would be about $125 a week. So that's what determines if I'm going to go to a place to sit or not, is how much is it going to cost me. And that particular sit is, and it's an education too. That one is a dog and chickens, and you get basically, free chicken eggs, and I won't be killing it, so that I don't have no chicken meat, but yeah, when I get there, you get an assessment before and that's one thing I learned, is get an assessment before the people leave. Most of the time they're willing to take you shopping and do some other stuff. And then Uber Eats delivers. I found out for my last set that Uber Eats delivers. Don't know if they're in the area up there where I need them. There probably will be, but I've had them deliver 2 or 3 times in my last set before this particular set. I had use of a car, so I did go out and do my own shopping this time for the little bit of stuff that I needed. So, but yeah, like I said, learned about me. I'm just now getting community, and it's been a process of me discovering who I am, what I like, what I don't like. I'm still nowhere near. I'm curious, I like learning new things. I went to a really nice museum yesterday here in the area. This is considered one of the high areas for wool. And now when I think about it, in the U.S., it would say this is Australian wool, or it used to be back in the day. This wool is out of Australia, and they're one of the top producers. I want to say 90% of the world. At one time, they had 90% of the world's wool being exported. So Sheep farming here was a big deal. Years ago, they had some other people that were trying to make wealth. Basically, they loaded the price on the wool, and it basically this stock market for wool had crashed. So they lost a lot of their wool industry, just like Detroit lost a lot of their manufacturing industry. They just a combination of price themselves out of the market and just didn't. Everybody wanted more. Instead of it being sustainable for more people to use it, they ran it to the ground. So, but anyway, the museum that they had here was great. National Wool Museum was a great visit. I took a lot of pictures. Very, very fascinated by the wool history here, and so I'm gonna post that. It's gonna be separate. It has one video. I was actually interviewing a guy that works on the machine. But anyway, that's part of me. I like learning new things. But that's the main thing I learned about me on this is that despite what some people who travel say that you need to have community before you get there, it depends on your state of mind. I was not ready for community. Like I said, I've been able to get house sits for me it would be 18 months minus. It will probably be the equivalent of about a month of having to pay for accommodations. One coming up is a 2-week, is a 12 days, 1.5 weeks that I won't have accommodations, and I'm looking to do some going to areas that I don't have any, I haven't been to yet. I haven't been to Western Australia. I haven't been to Northern Territory that I want to go. I want to go to Darwin. I want to do some stuff there with the indigenous culture group there, because I have not encountered any indigenous along the coastal cities, which is most of the stuff I have. I do have a sit coming up with one indigenous woman later on in the year, Australian indigenous, and then there's another lady that I'll be sitting for. She's non-white, but she's from another country. She's not from Australia, and I'm excited about those two. So, but that's what I've learned about me. And, and my extent of eventually noticing the situation with the pets. So, all right. So I'm off. I will talk to y'all later. Thanks for joining. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Let me know what's going on. All right. Y'all take care. Bye.